The Carroll County Public School Board has voted to update a policy restricting books and material with sexually explicit content.
While that move has garnered some support, others have opposed it, saying it leaves a lot of room for interpretation.
We're trying to restore confidence in their minds that our school system is going to focus on academics and not open the door to exposing their children to inappropriate content.
We need to recognize how this policy will affect students.
Fox 45's Jessica Babb is taking a closer look at the controversy brewing in Carroll County schools.
Well, the Carroll County School District says the general selection criteria for evaluating and selecting books and materials hasn't changed. They say the school board further defined sexually explicit content. But people opposing the policy are concerned. They worry the policy isn't clear enough.
Then it passes 5-0.
A revised policy passed.
We decided to add language to the policy that restricts, not bans, but just restricts student access to library materials and instructional materials that contain detailed, graphic, and textual accounts of sex acts.
The policy defining sexually explicit as unambiguously describing, depicting, showing, or writing about sex or sex acts in a detailed or graphic manner.
I think the new language is going to offer our educators even better guidance on what they should and should not provide our students.
He says it comes as parents and community members voiced concerns about some books.
We were the organization to bring to light the books, about 68 books that had contained explicit material, sexual material. Some of them were even sex manuals.
With the policy update, Kit Hart with the Carroll County Moms for Liberty chapter says she's pleased.
It couldn't have gone better.
But not everyone agrees. At Wednesday night's meeting, several people spoke out in opposition.
I am for protecting children from exploitation and creating nurturing learning environments, but must reluctantly be against the policy revision under consideration tonight as written because the definition still lacks clarity and seems too broadly restrictive.
This policy regarding sexually explicit content, I feel, is vague.
The district school board student representative says it leaves a lot to interpretation.
While I understand the intent of the policy, it's very difficult to standardize the way that we review our content. One person reading it may have a different interpretation than another, which may result in a loss of very important content in our schools.
But school board member Steve Whisler disagrees.
The new language that was injected into the policy, I believe, makes it very specific. I think this policy will, again, remove distractions and get us on the track to making sure that Carroll County is one of the best in the state.
Since it has been passed by the board, Whisler says the policy is now in effect. For Fox 45, I'm Jessica Babb.
Well, back in May of last year, a group of families sued Montgomery County Superintendent and the school board over the school system's LGBTQ book policy. Some parents took issue with books including Born Ready, the true story of a boy named Penelope, Uncle Bobby's Wedding, and Pride Puppy. They argued the books were not age appropriate and students should have the choice to opt out of reading them. Some said the material went against some students' religious upbringing. The lawsuit drew mixed reaction from county residents.
I wasn't out as trans in high school, but struggled a lot with being different and like people being able to tell that I wasn't cishet. I was really excited to hear that MCPS is doing what's right for families and for our students.
And unfortunately, Montgomery County has taken an approach here that says, we're going to cut the parents out.
In August, a federal judge ruled in Montgomery County's favor, saying parents cannot opt their children out of reading the material. Last month, several parents filed an appeal to block that decision.
Dr. Anthony Fouchy made his way to Capitol Hill this week, meeting with Congress for the first time since retiring from public service. However, his answers on the educational impacts of the pandemic shutdown is raising eyebrows. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
Dr. Anthony Fouchy sitting for 14 hours of closed-door testimony over the course of 2 days this week as lawmakers pressed him on America's pandemic response. Fouchy reportedly telling lawmakers he's not convinced children suffered learning loss as a result of school closures. Representative Michael Cloud from Texas was in that deposition. Cloud says he was surprised by Fauci's statement.
I don't know any parent who would agree with that assessment. There's study after study. Throughout the hearing, he either forgot details about what happened, or there's these multi-layers in the bureaucracy of what's supposed to be accountability.
The 2022 Nations Report Card, compiled by the Department of Education, shows during the pandemic, reading scores dropped to the lowest level in 3 decades, and math scores dropped for the first time in 50 years. Michelle Exner with Parents Defending Education calls Fouchy's response maddening.
3 years later, we have tangible evidence of the academic loss. This isn't a question up for debate. It's unfathomable that he would say that.
Fouchy has continually dodged taking any responsibility for the impact pandemic protocols had on education, telling the New York Times Magazine this past April, "Show me a school I shut down." I never did, but he did repeatedly make statements like this.
Make sure you do whatever you can to safeguard the safety and the health of the children as well as the teachers. And that should guide your policy.
How much power did Anthony Fouchy have when it came to schools closing?
He knows he had a massive impact on closures, just a desperate attempt to just fix a tarnished reputation.
While Democrats say Republicans are misrepresenting Fauci's testimony, Representative Cloud says the transcripts will back up his statements.
Dr. Fauci is set to testify at a yet-to-be-scheduled public hearing here on Capitol Hill in the coming months. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
That brings us to our national question of the day. Do you think kids suffered learning loss during the pandemic? So far, 95% of those who voted say yes. To weigh in, head to foxbaltimore.com/vote and click on the Pulse tab.
I'm Maxine Stryker. Thanks for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, take a moment to subscribe to our channel.